Welcome, curious minds, to another episode of Law Enforcement Rapid Fire Tips. I'm going to start a new segment that I'm going to implement now from now on, and I call it Guess Who. Okay. So this is a short segment in which I'm going to give law enforcement leads about people that maybe you wouldn't suspect are part of this network, but I know because I have the geo index. So today I'm going to deliver a few of these names that I had pending to deliver, but in a very short format. So the first character is Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, very prominent agent, very heavily marking the index, worth billions of dollars himself personally, right? I reported him to the IRS, of course. And a couple of tips that I'll give that can serve as verification that what I'm saying is correct. All the NVIDIA offices are marked in the index with super high paramilitary scores. Like that company is a key fundamental piece of these colonization efforts they have been advancing for 2 decades. And his house, like his personal residence, he bought it through an LLC, like through a limited liability company. So his name doesn't appear on the house, but it's the company. But the pipeline picked it up. And so the LLC that he used to buy the house, his personal residence, is marked itself in the index. And I don't know if it's the accountant. I can't recall. I have to check the system. I don't have it here, but the accountant or like the principal director of that corporation that handles the real estate investments for him. So it's his company. But the director that is in the register along the company information with I guess, the California authorities, that person is also marked in the index. So it's also an agent. And the corporation that owns the property is marked in the index, and the property itself is also marked in the index. So that's that. Also, Silvia Casaro from Goldman Sachs. She's a lady, Venezuelan, originally from Venezuela, but she went to university in Florida, and she's marked in the index, and her parents are also marked in the index. Goldman Sachs. She used to work at Goldman Sachs. The last thing I heard, she quit to do some kind of a nonprofit. I don't know if that's true. The next one is Joanna Krukowska. I'm going to spell it, okay? The first name is Joanna, Joanna. Last name is Krukowska, Krukowska. She's from Poland. She was tagged with FSB, and she's in the IRS form, in the master IRS form at position RU for Russia 105. That's her identifier in the form. And she was co-clustered with Gillian Walsh, and she was tagged with medical torture. And all this is documented in the website, okay? Also flagged Jojo or Yo-Yo. She's an instructor at the Villa Sport gym that my former partner frequented here in Katy, Texas, in Gaston Road, I believe it's the address. And Jojo, it was an instructor in the, what do they call that? Program for static bicycles, like from, the name escapes me. It has a name. A Soul Cycle kind of thing, but it's Le Mille, different franchise. By the way, Soul Cycle, super flag, right? As well. And it makes sense, like these places, right, where they keep people in an enclosed environment in a static bike for an hour. It's a prime situation to get the cookies from their phone, right? And while you're waiting, you're on your phone, like checking your mail. It's just too easy, right? It's too tempting for them. So they have at least those two static cycling franchises, Soul Cycle and Le Mille. Anyhow, Jojo, she's been flagged for a long time. And this is an interesting data point. It's a strange observation. I don't know if this was, I imagine it was by design, but I don't know exactly why they did this. But in one occasion, and this is just an anecdote, right? In one occasion, my former partner took me to this static cycling thing at Villa Sport. And Jojo was the instructor that day. And it happened to be the case that day, her husband was in the class. Like he didn't have to work that day and he was in the class. And I don't know, when I looked at him, he looked very similarly to me physically. Like it was the resemblance, like the resemblance was impressive. Like I couldn't stop looking at it. It was like looking at a mirror. And then I asked afterwards my former partner if she noticed the resemble, and she brushed it off as, yeah, like you have a slight resemble the two of you, but nothing striking. But to me, it was striking. So I don't know if for some reason, it got to me more than it really is. or if she was downplaying it because she didn't want it to become a big deal. But in that occasion, like it wasn't like I could not stop. Like I was mesmerized by the fact that there was another human being that looked exactly like me, so close to me. Like it was, I've never experienced that before. So anyhow, she was flagged, and interestingly, yesterday I think I was talking to my former partner, and she mentioned that Jojo, coincidentally yesterday, and I really hope this is not true, because it could be not true, right? But I don't know if it's true. I'm really sorry if that's the case. But anyhow, my former partner mentioned yesterday that Jojo apparently yesterday had an episode in which she fainted, and 2 days ago she fainted, and they had to call 911, and they took her to the hospital, and it turns out that it's a brain tumor that she has. So something very serious. Now, it could be true, and I hope it's not true, really, because I don't want her to suffer from such an extreme illness. But it also could be one of those things that they do where they make you feel sorry for the person, and that way you don't perceive danger, or you don't thinking that maybe I could report her in one of these series. It could be one of those ruses, so she doesn't get reported. And if that's the case, that would mean that she's very prominent, because if they're going through the lengths of calling 911 and doing all those things just to create this illusion, is because she must be prominent. From what I understand, she's from Egypt, and the husband as well. They're both Egyptians, and we know that Egypt, the president of Egypt, is a big player in this network. So it could go either way. But at this point, I guess at this point, my policy is that everything suspicious that happens in a place that is marked in Katy, Texas, that is marked with a paramilitary score about a certain number, I'm gonna think that it's fake, right? Like at this point, like this is just laughable. It's like the Truman Show. 90% of the things they present to me are fake. But anyhow, I hope that it's fake, because I don't want her to be ill. Another person, a Googler from local web team, important agent, Andrew Hyatt, like the hotel chain is the last name, Hyatt. He's very quiet. Talk to him, you wouldn't think that he's an agent, but he's flagged. And to close it off, there's the pipeline picked this up like a month ago when I discovered the existence of the mini compounds in the US, at least, and the fact that they made the mistake to register. I think I mentioned this in the website a long time ago, like a month ago. They made this mistake, a terrible mistake, in which a mini compound is when an agent has 3 houses, right, or multiple houses next to each other, and they're presenting the situation as if these are different families, but in reality, it's the same agent that controls the 3 houses, and 2 of the houses are just buffer or equipment, right? And then what they do, they split the equipment among the 3 houses, so it's not obvious what they're doing, right? So in one house, they could have solar panels to get power, so it doesn't. So what they're doing doesn't inflate the electricity bills. In another house, they may have the antennas, and in another house, they may have the servers. And then they have the power line that goes from the solar panels in one house to the equipment in the other houses. And this way, it's like what Eckhart does in Lake Point State, right? Like he has the secret gate in one property, and he has the concrete structure in the other property that is registered to Mueller, and then he has the antenna on the. It's not Robert Lanham. It's another, the Sachs, right? He has the antenna on the Sachs property, I think, on the other side. But in reality, right, like the 3 properties are controlled by the same person or family, and they are all part of one big unit. And the discovery at that time was that I discovered that they made the mistake that they register in some cases these multiple properties using the same name for the same agent, or very similar names, small variations of the name. And this, of course, is easy to detect, right? So in this case, this is one prominent mini compound here in Houston, somebody by the name Enrique Nava. And he has multiple properties in this street called Howell Road or Howell Street. I don't know if it's a misspelling in one of the properties, or if these are 2 different streets. One is road and one is a street. Anyhow, I'll read them, all of them here, and I'll put them on the description of the video. So Nava Enrique 410 Howell, it's spelled Howell Road, Rosharon, Texas 77583. Also has 511 Howell, the same spelling, but instead of road, it says a street. Rosharon, Texas 77583. Also has 513 Howell Road, Nava, Andres, and Lucia. Also has 410 Howell Street, Suite E, Rosharon, Texas 77583. There's also another person that has the same address called Bonstaff Michel. Bonstaff is spelled B as in Bob, Onstaff. Those F's are F as in Frank. And the address is 513 Howell Street, Ross Sharon, Texas, 77583. And there are a couple of other people also marking the GeoIndex that were co-clustered with that property, with those properties, mini compound. One is, so they're not in the mini compound, but they were co-clustered by the system with the same agent for other reasons, right? This is Nava Andres Jr. and has a junior danger market, I call it. 2650 Fontaineview Drive, Suite 212, Houston, Texas, 77057. And also Nava Agustina Fonseca at 2533 Priest Dr. Houston, Texas, 77093. This one, the geo features of the place were, I'm not going to give much detail because it could give away important stuff, but the geo features, look at the geo features of this address, 2533 Priest Dr. Houston, Texas, 77093. There are a lot of things near that house in terms of geo features that seem strangely unique and important. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you so much for your time today, and see you on the next one.